Audio Jungle. 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 Audio Audio Jungle.
There are nights when all we want to do is curl up in bed and watch a horror movie. We all love doing that, but what makes a scary movie scarier is knowing that it is based on a true story. Knowing that somebody actually went through that terror in reality is something that does not let one sleep easily. Here are 25 horror movies based on true incidents that you absolutely need to see. The Exorcist, 1973. The Exorcist is based on a book which is based on real life of a boy named Roland Doe who was possessed by demons in 1949. The exorcism was so scary that there have been books written on people who witnessed it. This story will give you goosebumps, all for real reasons. The Texas Chainsaw Massacre, 1974. This movie is loosely based on America's famous serial killer Ed Gein, who had 9 human skin masks in his possession at the time of his arrest. Spooky, isn't it? A Nightmare on Elm Street, 2010. Love blood, gore and knife-fingered ghosts? This is it then. The makers of this movie were inspired by a group of Laotian refugees who had died in throes of a nightmare. The medical reports said there was nothing wrong with them physically. Child's Play, 1988. The script was based on a nurse who allegedly put a voodoo curse on author Robert Eugene Otto, which transformed one of his childhood dolls into a nighttime menace. We all have seen scary movies with possessed dolls, but knowing that the doll really existed is spooky. The Amityville Horror, 2005. The movie is based on the events that took place in 1975 at 112 Ocean Avenue, the new house of the Lutz family in Amityville. This has been a very discussed case among paranormal researchers. Psycho, 1960. This thriller horror movie is loosely inspired by Ed Gein's crimes and Wisconsin murders. There have been various follow-ups of this movie. It is an absolute must-watch. The Girl Next Door, 2007. This movie is loosely based on what is said to be the most terrible crime of Indiana State. Sylvia Likens was tortured and eventually killed by Gertrude Banishevsky in 1965, and the movie is inspired by it. The Conjuring, 2013. Ed and Lorraine Warren are real-life paranormal investigators who claim that this case was exceptionally hard for them to deal with. Fan of possessed dolls? We have it here for you. Deranged, 1974. Ever loved someone so much that you kept their body even after their death? This 1974 movie is exactly about that. It is inspired by the life of America's most notorious serial killer, Ed Gein. Ravenous, 1999. We all enjoy a good meal, but what if you had to eat human meat for your next meal? Yes, this is one of the most underrated movies on cannibalism, which will spook you like nothing else can. Because you are what you eat, quite literally. The Rite, 2011. Like stories on exorcism and the devil. Based on the life of one of the most famous exorcists of America, Father Gary Thomas, this movie will scare the hell out of you. One piece of advice: don't try this alone. The Haunting in Connecticut, 2009. The plot of this movie is not new. You buy a new place to live and you are not happily received by the ghosts. What is scary is that we know this really happened to Al and Carmen Snedeker, who had their house over a funeral parlor.